More than 6.4 million Southern Californians viewed our climate justice billboards and bus shelters. Another 1.5 million people listened to and or downloaded our weekly conversations with African American climate experts. Our KBLA Climate Justice web portal had 2.8 million unique visitors. Thousands more attended our 7 climate justice community events. More than 9.3 million riders saw our climate care messaging on metro buses and trains. And 39 million Americans accessed our C-SPAN Climate Justice Symposium. All told, our 2024 climate justice campaign exceeded 471 million total impressions. KBLA Talk 1580 thanks all of our 2024 climate justice partners: LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, Sierra Club, California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr., the California Wellness Foundation, MWD, AQMD, and the Port of Los Angeles. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580. 1580.
Live from historic Leonard Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program, or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, tech whistleblower and computer scientist Laura Edelson on the impending ban of TikTok, the death of truth on Meta, and the future of social networking. It's tech in our second hour today with Laura Edelson. This TikTok story is getting really interesting. There is some breaking news at this hour about that, a potential ban of TikTok here in the U.S. We'll talk about that with Laura in our second hour. In our third hour,
slapping, 1.5 off rapping, link up, blapping, the bay up now, bitch, what's happening? Hey, 24 hours a day, I'm grinding, AB on the grill, I'm shining, hopped out my bed, turn my swag on high, am I looking like a bag or a bag, don't lie, said I would quit.
His name is LaRusso, and if you don't know, you're already behind. It's kind of like Nipsey Hussle. For those who knew Nipsey back in the day before he became known by the masses, that's where LaRusso is right now in his career. Vallejo, California-born rapper and entrepreneur, LaRusso joins us live in studio in our third hour to talk about his music and his work to support other independent hip-hop artists. And so, again, mark your calendars. I've been blessed to do this a few times in my career, to bring people to you that the whole world eventually catches up to. So LaRusso today in our third hour. In this first hour, 2 conversations on the B side of this hour.
I have no doubt that America's in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. The dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy, just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal and helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. We've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules, pay their fair share of taxes.
That was our president, Joseph R. Biden Jr., last night in his farewell address to the nation. I was struck by the fact that many months ago during the campaign, before he even passed the baton to Kamala Harris, he dropped the F word. No, not that F word, the other F word, fascism. And all hell broke loose when Joe Biden used the word fascism. And last night, on his way out the door, he dropped the old word, oligarchy. It is very, very uncommon, perhaps never before, a sitting president uses the word oligarchy. He could have gone plutocracy. I said the other day, that's what we are, essentially. An oligarchy, a plutocracy with elections. But Joe Biden dropped the old word last night. We'll talk about that, his speech last night, and what happens in the days ahead with conservative columnist Deroy Murdoch, who will preview the Trump inauguration on the King holiday. Lord help us all. And Deroy will share his views on how he believes Black America will fare over the next 4 years under Trump 2.0. So we'll talk about those issues on the B side of this hour. When we come forward, we will commence a conversation with my colleague here in Los Angeles, Dominique DePrima, who will join us live from the Altadena area, where far too many Black folk lost everything in the Eaton Canyon fire. Dominique is the host of First Things First with Dominique DePrima on my home station here in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580. I'm pleased to have her on for the next 30 minutes or so. But again, to the national audience, here locally, our station broadcast live today. All 3 hours of Dominique's program were broadcast live from the Altadena area. And I want to check in with her and a few others when we come forward about what they saw, what they experienced, and we'll do that with Dominique when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MOTOR for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MOTOR for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MOTOR.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Oh, this new dose is, well, nope, that's not it. The price is nowhere to be found.
Mr. Green? Hi, it's all good. We've got this.
This is not just help from a Walgreens pharmacist.
Oh, new prescriptions. Cool. Let me check to see if these are the lowest cost options covered by your Medicare plan.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
This is someone supporting you every step of the way. Chat with a pharmacist today to find help saving. This is the human kind of help. Walgreens.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Dominique DePrima, who's the host of First Things First on KBLA Talk 1580 here in Los Angeles. Dominique, how are you this morning?
Oh, I'm overwhelmed, Tavis, and very grateful. It's just an incredible community outpouring today.
So I want to spend just a few minutes talking about what you heard. I was listening today to your program, of course. An amazing job, first of all, to you and the team out in Altadena, to you and the entire team, you and Mike and Charlotte and Sky, all of our team. I thank you, Brother James, who helped out in producing your show today. So I'm grateful to all of you for being there and doing such an amazing broadcast. What makes it amazing for me is that this black talk station had a chance to allow these black folk who've been impacted by these fires to tell their own stories. There's nothing, as you know, being a media personality for many years, there's nothing, as you know, like people being able to share their own stories in their own voice. And I was speaking of impacted, I was more than impacted in your first hour listening to the stories of these persons who lost everything. The brother who was awakened at 3 a.m. in the morning, as he put it, by not his better half, but his best half, who was on travel. But she's on travel watching the fires in L.A., not even here. He's in the bed at 3 a.m. She called and woke him up and told him to get out of the house. And but for her calling to wake him up, he wouldn't be alive to be on your program today, but he lost everything. I heard the doctor, the sister, tell her story about 17 members of her family in 6 or 7 different households, all living in the same area. And pretty much all those houses burnt down, and they literally at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning were caravanning as a family out of Altadena. And it made me think about the historic nature of these black neighborhoods in Altadena. It was moving for me to listen to these stories, these first account stories of these persons who've lost everything. What was it like for you sitting there next to all of them?
It was, beyond moving, Tavis. I mean, Dr. Ishelle Williams, you're talking about a therapist. 6 of her family homes were destroyed, down to nothing. And I had the opportunity sitting next to her. She passed me her phone, and I was looking at the pictures. And something about seeing it on a personal phone where it took me to how it would feel to go home. And there's nothing left but one wooden board with your address. And everything else is in ashes. And your chimney, and that's it. Nothing else left. 6 houses. The fact that in Altadena, this black enclave in L.A., 80% of black families own their own homes. So when you talk about 7,000 structures burned in a town of only 40,000, you're talking about an incredible impact on and 1 out of 4 people.
Yeah. Something that came through for me today, listening to your program, listening to these stories that I had never really considered. And I say this not to demonize or cast aspersion on anybody else. I'm thinking now of the great intellectual Du Bois, W.B., who once asked the question, would America have been America without her Negro people? That's a Du Boisian question. Would America have been America without her Negro people? Clearly, the answer is no. There's no way that America is the nation that she is, with all that we still have to do to become a true democracy. No question that we are where we are, in large part, because of the grand contributions of black people. So America wouldn't be without us. Now, you can answer that question, I think, in the affirmative, Dominique, without demonizing or casting aspersion on any other person, creed, or culture. But here's what popped out for me that I had never really considered in the way that I heard it today on your program. When we hear and watch the news and these stories about the Pacific Palisades or Brentwood or Malibu or the Hollywood Hills or other parts of Southern California that were also not spared by these wildfires, we hear the term neighbor. And neighbor is it's a great word. I mean, I hope I'm a good neighbor to my neighbors, and I've got some good neighbors that have been kind to me. But that word neighbor is a good word. But today, what struck me was that in Altadena, these people don't consider each other as neighbors. It's family. It's a community. And that is the best of the black tradition. And that, for some reason, listening to all these people tell their stories and listening to you explain and introduce people, and everybody in Altadena pretty much knows everybody. I mean, we joke about the fact that white folk think we all know each other. We really don't. But in Altadena, it seems like it really is the kind of family, the kind of community. These folk have been there for generations, and that popped out at me today in a way that I'd never considered it. There's a distinct difference between just being a neighbor, which is a beautiful thing, versus being a community, Dominique.
Yeah, and being a family. You mentioned Martin Gordon,
Yeah.
who had been living in his home for 50 years in Altadena. 50 years.
Yeah.
This man is a member of the Black Panther Party, longtime community activist, and this is a man, you said, his best half, as he calls
Yeah.
her, woke him up out of his sleep, and he fled, and literally minutes later, his home was consumed by fire. Everything, including all of this history, right, of the Black Panther Party, of his community activism in Altadena and the Pasadena Community Coalition here. And you're right, people we had booked to do this show that we didn't know knew each other.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's my cousin, and that one's my neighbor, and I grew up with this one. It's an incredible web of family.
Yeah. The other thing that hit me today in a way that I had not processed it heretofore, that's why it's important to get out of the studio sometimes and go to the people, and let the people see you, and let them know that you see them. But most importantly, to let them tell their own stories in their own words. What I resonated with today in a way, again, that I had not heretofore, is that, to your point about Mr. Gordon and even the good doctor, there's so many people who have lived in Altadena, not just for years, but again, for generations. But for those persons who are, as I like to say, more chronologically gifted, I don't want to call them old, but they're more chronologically gifted, because with that comes a great deal of wisdom. We heard a lot of that on your program today. But for those who are more chronologically gifted, it begs the question, do I rebuild? I'm trying to juxtapose two things, Dominique. On the one hand, not wanting the interlopers to come in and to take this precious land and to turn it into whatever they're going to turn it into, and to buy this land for pennies on the dollar from these black folk who've been there for years. I want to ward against that, and I'm glad that you talked about that. I'm glad you had Jeff Davis, as I recall, on talking, giving some great advice about what to do in terms of your insurance policies, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of good information came through the radio today, courtesy of your program and your guests. But I'm thinking of these senior citizens, and this question of whether or not to rebuild. If you're again in your 80s or even near your 80s, and you know it's going to take you, I was talking to somebody from FEMA the other day, it's going to take you minimum 3 years. This is what they're telling the good white folk in the Palisades and in Malibu. Minimum 3 years to rebuild your house. That's in those neighborhoods. You know the red tape that Negroes have to go through. So if they're telling the good white folk 3 years, God knows how long it's going to take to fight with your insurance company, et cetera, in places like Altadena, which begs the question, if you're a person of a certain age, do you want to rebuild? I mean, do you want to spend the next few years of your life going through all the drama of dealing with, I've been there, dealing with contractors, et cetera, trying to rebuild, which begs the following question, which is, if you're not going to rebuild because you're a person of a certain age, all that history is lost, that land is sold, what happens to these historic black neighborhoods, if any of that makes sense to you?
It absolutely does. You mentioned Jeff Davis. He's created something called Alta Pass Claims to help people deal with just those kind of questions. And I love the way the insurance community, black folks, are actually mobilizing. What he was suggesting in a situation like that is maybe that chronologically gifted elder takes the insurance money that would have paid for the home, for the replacement of the home, takes that money and goes off to the sunset, finds themselves a place, and then gifts the land to the next generation and lets the next generation take a loan against the land to rebuild a home there. So that way it stays black. You continue to pass on that generational wealth, but that elder, that chronologically gifted person, has the nest egg that would be the insurance money for the rebuilding. So the rebuilding happens with a loan instead of the instead of the insurance, and the land stays in the family because we know land is key.
Yep. Speaking of the ecology now, just watching my time here. I heard you say when you came on the air today that on your drive out, it was abundantly clear to you that you were getting closer and closer to ground zero, as it were. Our studio is in Leimert Park. For those who know anything about Southern California or know about LA, we are in Leimert Park. And for all of you who are still texting and calling and writing, I appreciate it. Yes, we are okay. Where the studio is concerned, everybody on my team is okay. One of my colleagues here at the station in LA, Zoe Williams, was on with Dominique today. There are two of his family members, two brothers, in fact, who are still missing. And Zoe, I can hear the pain in Zoe's voice talking to Dominique about his being out there. Again, he was on Dominique's show today and was leaving the show, or will be leaving the space to go to shelters again today with his family members, trying to locate his two elder brothers. And so there are people who are still searching. But I heard you say that on your way out, you could tell you were getting closer to ground zero because from Leimert Park, Dominique doesn't live. I'm going to give you her address, but I know she doesn't live too far from this studio. So she had a nice haul to get out to Altadena. But I heard you talking about as you got closer, you could see in the skies, you could smell the smoke. You could tell from Leimert Park to where you were headed in Altadena, Pasadena area, that you were getting closer to ground zero. Describe that for me, what that felt like, knowing and just being able to sense, feel, and smell that you were getting closer to some kind of devastation.
Yeah, because when these fires broke out, you could smell it and feel it really in the Crenshaw district where we are. But now it's subsided somewhat. The winds have blown. Yes, we still have ash on our cars. We know there's fires. But as I got closer and closer to Altadena, I started to smell those smells of the first day, and they were very strong. You start to see the gray in the sky. And when I got out of the car, my eyes started to water the way that they did the first day, and I immediately reached for my mask because you know that those toxins are thick in the air. And it just reminded me of how much more challenging this is, whether they're older folks or kids. You know, they're living in this impacted area, and it is still, yes, the containment is up to 55% today, which is great news, but it is still very much an active crisis.
That is good news for those around the country listing the Eaton fire up to 55% containment today. So we finally crossed over 50%. So that fire, we're into week 2. This broke out last Tuesday. Today is Thursday, so we're into week 2. And these fires are still not out, but it's good news. It's a blessing to hear that the Eaton fire is 55% contained today. I was listening again as you were talking to Brother James, who we again thank for helping to co-produce on site today, this live remote from the Altadena, Pasadena area on Dominique's program. Listening to him say that yesterday he had an official drive-through with one of these agencies. And so he was able to get into the Altadena area to where these black communities have been burnt out to see firsthand, up close, the devastation. And I heard him sharing with you today that, this is my phraseology, not his, that he would not necessarily advise people to go back. They want to go back. They want to see, their place. But he said there's literally nothing there. There's nothing there to see. And to your point, the toxins are in the air. We had to change locations for this live remote today because the first location that Dominique and team had locked into, we couldn't get to. The National Guard, we drew the boundaries, and so we could not even get to that space to do her show live today, so we had to pick an alternate location. We went to a church there, and that's where they did their show today. We could even get to that space, but I heard James again saying that, he was just struck by how much worse it was than he even imagined when he got inside these areas. And he was saying to people, I'm not sure you want to go back and see this kind of devastation, Dominique.
Yeah, that's right. James Farrs, who you're talking about, he writes for the LA Progressive, and he co-produced the show today. He was doing a ride-along with law enforcement, and on the ground, he said they were walking down the street in one area, and they had to immediately leave because there was a gas leak, and there could have been an explosion at any moment. So we don't think about not just the buildings being gone, but open pipelines and toxic chemicals, and still there are embers and ashes and heat under piles of refuse. So literally, he realized it's not just that it was much more devastation and widespread demolition of these communities, but also that they are actively and intensely dangerous. And so even though we're yearning to go back into our homes, the fact is it's not a good idea.
I do not know any people on the planet who are more resilient than black people. Don't get me started on that. But nobody more resilient than we are. I have 60 seconds left. I'll give it to Dominique DePrima. What are your takeaways from your experience today, what you saw, what you witnessed, what you heard?
My main takeaway is that this community is not giving up, and they're not going away. They may be dispersed to family and friends, but they are very, very committed, not just to the immediate mutual aid, but to the long haul, to preserving this black wealth, this black-owned land, these homes, and more importantly, the community, the fiber, the traditions of Altadena. And Altadena is strong. I don't think they're going anywhere. And so, for those of us who really want to be part of the solution, we need to look at helping out long term, not just showing up for the moment.
We talked about family earlier in this conversation, and Dominique DePrima is part of a grand legacy herself. She just happens to be not just a brilliant host on my home station in L.A., but just happens to be the daughter of the legendary and iconic poet Amiri Baraka. That is her father. Her mother is Diane DePrima. Both are now deceased, but she's part of a grand legacy herself. Her brother is the current mayor of Newark and running for governor in New Jersey, Roz Baraka. But we are honored to have her as our lead host every day here in L.A. on KBLA Talk 1580. Her program is called First Things First. Her name is Dominique DePrima. Dominique, thank you for an amazing show today, full of information. I'll see you when you get back to the studio. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tavis.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Tom Kelly's carbon fiber mountain bike. Because more than riding his carbon fiber mountain bike, Tom loves telling people about his carbon fiber mountain bike. Friends, family, even a local barista knows about his carbon fiber mountain bike. And that's why Tom's carbon fiber mountain bike, if you haven't heard about it, is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. State Farm will renew policies for homeowners affected by the Los Angeles County wildfires, reversing their previous decision to drop coverage. They have received over 7,400 claims so far, with more expected. The family of Robert Brooks, beaten to death by corrections officers in upstate New York, is suing. Body camera footage shows officers repeatedly punching and kicking him while restrained. 14 officers have been suspended, 1 resigned, and the FBI is investigating. The FDA proposes limiting nicotine in tobacco products to make them less addictive and easier to quit. If finalized, the U.S. would be the first to implement such a rule, potentially saving lives and reducing severe illness. And Jazz Fest in New Orleans will feature headliners, including Lil Wayne, who will perform with The Roots. The festival runs for 2 weekends in April and May, with tickets ranging from $300 to $2,000. I'm Bree Wood on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
New year, fresh start. Why not with better water? LifeSource Water gives you clean, filtered water from every tap with no salt and no frequent maintenance. Call 800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com today. Warranty limitations apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers won their home games last night. The Clippers beat Brooklyn by 59 points, the largest victory margin in franchise history. Brooklyn's 67 points is a season low for all NBA teams. Kawhi Leonard had 23 points. James Harden dropped 21 and had 11 assists. The Clippers are at Portland tonight. The Lakers snapped a 3-game losing streak with a 9-point win over Miami. Rui Hachimura led the Lakers with 23 points. LeBron and Anthony Davis had 22 each. The Lakers played Brooklyn Friday night at Crypto. Tiger Woods, who sponsors the Genesis Invitational Golf Tournament in Pacific Palisades, remain uncertain if the event will be played. The Genesis is scheduled for February 13th to the 16th at the Riviera Country Club. The course did not suffer any damage from the wildfires, although numerous homes nearby were destroyed. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in tough times, connecting you with resources and what you need to know. Evacuation shelters are located in the Pasadena Civic Center, the Dream Center in LA, the Westwood Recreation Center, and many more. You can call 311 for details. Santa Anita Park in Arcadia is a pop-up mutual aid hub where you can pick up anything from clothing to food and hygiene supplies. If you're in Los Angeles County and in need of food, call Omni Ministries at 310-631-1557. Donations can be made to Zelle, Omni Ministries, Inc. at yahoo.com. Parking Lot I outside of Rose Bowl Stadium is a pop-up mutual aid hub where you can pick up everything from clothing to food to hygiene supplies for free. To volunteer or donate to help victims of the fire, contact the LA Emergency Network at enla.org. The Cochran Firm and Ivy McNeil, Wyatt Purcell and Diggs, Jasmine Canick, and others have launched a GoFundMe specifically targeting Altadena. Visit LA Fires. The impacted Black community urgently needs help on GoFundMe, and donate to help Black evacuees fighting for survival. Airbnb is offering free temporary housing to people displaced by the fires. Call 211 to sign up. The LA Chamber of Commerce is stepping up to help you sort out insurance claims and other paperwork. Reach them at 213-580-7500. South LA Cafe has free groceries, clothing, and water available at 1700 Browning Boulevard in LA. Track their giveaways or volunteer through their Instagram at South LA Cafe. U-Haul is donating short-term storage free of charge for 30 days to evacuees. Shelter for small or large animals can be accessed by calling 211. A Black-led coalition of community organizations is offering support and resources in the Altadena area at the Flint Ridge Center at 236 West Mountain Street in Pasadena. For comprehensive lists of resources for housing, food, shelter, and more, visit Mutual Aid LA Network on Instagram. Praying for LA and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Deroy Murdoch, whose voice you will hear in just a moment. We thank Dominic DePrima for that conversation live from Altadena, where my local station broadcast today to give the persons there, the African-American persons there, an opportunity to share their own stories and their own words. And we appreciate her and the entire team for broadcasting live today from Altadena. Now, conversation with conservative commentator and columnist Deroy Murdoch. We'll get his thoughts on the inauguration coming up just days from now and how he believes that black folk in particular will fare over the next 4 years under the Trump administration, Trump 2.0. But we commence with this sound from Joe Biden last night in his farewell speech.
I have no doubt that America's in a position to continue to succeed. That's why my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. And this is a dangerous and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, but the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy. Just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal and helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen. We've got to do that again. In the last 4 years, that is exactly what we've done. People should be able to make as much as they can, but play by the same rules. Pay their fair share of taxes.
I mentioned earlier, Deroy Murdoch, on today's program that the president, months ago, as you recall, used the F word, not that one, the other one, fascism, and all hell broke loose. Last night, on his way out the door, he used the O word, oligarchy. I've said before, I'm sure you and I would disagree on this, my friend. I believe in some ways one could argue that America is an oligarchy, a plutocracy with elections these days. But I was shocked that Biden dropped the O word last night. How did you hear that, Deroy?
Well, yeah, that was kind of an interesting word you hear from time to time. I was most interested in how he said that the high-tech oligarchs are threatening our democracy, and it made me think of the efforts on the part of the Biden administration to pressure Silicon Valley, social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, before Elon Musk bought it, to deplatform people who criticize the Biden administration, take articles, in particularly people who were critical of the policy on COVID-19, mask mandates, vaccine mandates, et cetera, and tell folks in Silicon Valley, okay, suppress this story, deplatform that person. Mark Zuckerberg just said last week, I believe, that people from the Biden administration screamed and cursed, his words, screamed and cursed at his staff, saying, get rid of the story, bury that story. So, yeah, I guess the high-tech oligarchs are a threat to democracy, starting with the way that Joe Biden and his administration tried to use them essentially to bury stories that they found inconvenient or unfavorable for one reason or another.
I hear you loud and clear. The politics notwithstanding, do you find any truth to his suggestion, his claim that America is becoming an oligarchy?
I think you're always going to find in this society or any other that people who have a lot of wealth also seem to have a lot of power. And I think the way to solve that is to get more people with more wealth. And I'd like to see, I'm making up the number, I know it is. We have, 10,000 millionaires in this country. Let's get up to 20,000 or 30,000, whatever the number is. I don't know the number of millionaires in America. I probably should. And the more people are wealthy, the more people will be powerful and able to make choices for themselves and their loved ones with more independence and more options if they've got more resources to be able to do things. I think I heard somebody say that money doesn't buy you love, but buys you options. And I think that's an important lesson, and I want to see more people have more money and more ability to do it themselves. Whatever it is, helps them pursue happiness.
To your point now, what's your sense then of how, let me pivot from Biden to Trump, what's your sense then of how Donald Trump will move to specifically help more black folk to become millionaires?
Well, I think starting with people who are making less than that kind of money, I think the no tax on tips will be very helpful for black folks and other Americans who are in the social, I should say, in in the services area, hotels, restaurants, that sort of thing. No tax on overtime will definitely help people who are working in hourly wages and work overtime. Will be able to keep more of their money. Black seniors and seniors who aren't black will benefit from no taxes on Social Security. I mean, I think those are the three biggest planks in his tax reform ambitions, and that'll be great for all those folks. I think that will stimulate the economy. An economy that's growing and expanding more rapidly is good for everybody, and so I think all those things will help more black folks prosper. Some of them will make thousands more. Some of them, if they're lucky, will make millions more.
Yep. One of the things that concerns me is, I'm not a Trump fan, so no surprise there. But one of the things that concerns me is the lack of people of color on his team, specifically African Americans. I've been around long enough, as have you, to have any number of stories that we could share if we had the time, of decisions that were made that were bad ideas when they were thought of. It was a bad idea when somebody thought of it, but there was nobody black in the room to say that's a horrible idea. So if nothing else, you need some black folk around you just to tell you that you're going in the wrong direction. And I do not see a lot of black folk around Donald Trump. And again, all my skin folk ain't my kin folk. I get that. Just because you're black doesn't even mean you're giving the president the right advice or the best advice, or advice that is not antithetical to the best interest of black people. But I think I do take some solace in knowing that in any particular space, there are at least some Negroes in the room that might, on occasion, if not regularly, speak on behalf of black people. I don't see enough of them around him. What say you about that reality?
Well, I think it's both a two-way street. I mean, I think it's a good idea to have people around saying, hey, this idea you thought of, you might want to consider this aspect. You might have missed this detail or this factor. And conversely, once the decision is made on that policy or any others, you want people who are able to go out and talk to black folks and say, by the way, do you know about things like the support for historically black colleges and universities that President Trump did in his first term? I assume that will continue. Are you aware of the positive things he did in the area of school choice? Did you know, by the way, that he supported actually reauthorized and provided a steady stream of funds for the D.C. School voucher program, and let people know about that? I believe there's only one black cabinet member, the Secretary of HUD, is a black gentleman. So given especially that so many black folks voted for Trump, I believe he got 20, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was 16% of the black vote overall, and I think it was 26% of black men. You'd think as a result of that, you'd probably have a few more black faces in the room. So I guess we'll see with more of the folks who come in if that happens with high-level White House staffers and people in press area and public liaison and that kind of thing. But I think that's important, especially if the GOP wants to continue to make inroads among black voters. I think that having black folks in the mix is a good thing, and I suspect there will be more and hope there will be.
When we come forward, I want to ask Deroy Murdoch why we should not believe that Donald Trump isn't going to advance an agenda, again, that is antithetical to the best interest of our people. Frankly, an agenda that is hostile. We had Adam Schiff, the new senator from California, on this program the other day, and I made it clear to him, as if he didn't already know this, Donald Trump doesn't like you very much. Adam Schiff led the first House impeachment against Donald Trump, so Donald Trump can't stand Adam Schiff, or as they call him, Shifty Schiff. Trump can't stand him. He can't stand Gavin Newsom. You saw what he pushed out on Truth Social earlier this week. He called these Democratic leaders in California incompetent vis-a-vis not being able to put out these fires, but clearly no love lost between Gavin Newsom, the governor of this state, and Donald Trump. Adam Schiff, U.S. senator from this state. They've been bashing Elon Musk, who I call the co-president-elect. They've been bashing Karen Bass, the mayor of L.A. Why am I going there? Because we're going to need the support of the federal government here in California in the days, months, and years to come. We're going to need that brother at HUD, the one black in the cabinet, to do the right thing. We're going to need the folk at FEMA to do the right thing. But if you have a president who oversees all of this, who is hostile to the state of California, what happens specifically to those black folk in Altadena who are going to need government resources to do what they need to do? So my question when we come forward is whether or not we should be concerned about a hostile agenda that is either aimed directly or indirectly at black folk. You're listening to Deroy Murdoch, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Welcome to Staples.
I am so pumped. My business is going to kill it this year.
Awesome. How can I help?
First, a new computer.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you save big on tech.
And new posters.
Save on custom printing, too.
And,
a new chair?
A chair? Who has time to sit?
Maybe all your new clients?
Now you're talking.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you'll find huge savings on custom prints, storage, chairs, and tech. And now save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed, with conservative commentator and columnist Deroy Murdoch. So, Deroy, you heard me a moment ago ask, and now you get a chance to respond to why we should not believe that Donald Trump is not going to advance an agenda that is hostile to the best interest of black people. I don't have the time. I don't need to as well. Run the list of all the things that Donald Trump has said and done that one could regard as demeaning, derisive, dismissive, disenfranchising of black people. But even if we were to give him another chance, to give him a clean slate, he can't stand many Democratic leaders across the country, certainly here in California. So I'm thinking specifically in this moment of these black folk in Altadena who are going to need HUD and FEMA, et cetera, et cetera. So if they're playing these games, I saw Tommy Tuberville, senator from Alabama the other day, suggested California doesn't deserve funds. We've never played politics with tragedies, and I'm concerned about that, specifically on behalf of black people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that in light of these horrific fires in the Palisades, Altadena, Hollywood Hills, et cetera, including Pacific Palisades, where I went to high school, I went to Palisades High School, and by coincidence visited on Sunday. And the good news is some bungalows in the back of the school burned, but most of it, I'd say 90% of it is intact, despite earlier stories about it being totally destroyed. But I think the impetus will be essentially, if there is aid, and I'm assuming there will be, that there be some indication that policy will change. For example, there was a story that came out this week about, I believe, the Department of Water and Power is trying to expand some fire roads up in the hills above the Palisades and elsewhere. And soon after they started, someone discovered that this particular weed, which is endangered, was being harmed, and so they'd stop the project. And the roads were not widened. Well, guess what? After that fire, not only did the weeds that they wanted to protect get burned, but so did the lizards and the salamanders, the butterflies, et cetera. So there's got to be some sense, look, it's much better, even if you have to get rid of, 10, 15, 20% of this protected weed in order to widen the road, you might have 80% survive after a fire. You don't do that sort of thing. Now 100% of those weeds are gone. not good for the weeds. So I think there needs to be some sensible approach that says, look, we have to fight these fires. We've got to reduce vegetation. I think one idea is to set wild goats free in the hills, let the goats eat the vegetation. That's a cheap way to do it. But something must be done other than just to let things sit there, let the fuels collect, and then a spark hits something somewhere, and then you've got, 27 dead people and mass destruction like something out of a plague in ancient Egypt. And I think that the effort on the part of the Trump administration will be saying, all right, we'll give you aid, but you've got to come up with a policy that's more effective than what we've seen, rather than just letting vegetation pile up and then every few years having it burn and just wipe out people's homes and properties and dreams and, unfortunately, their lives, too.
To the point that Deroy just made, I want to probe when we come forward this notion that he was just here. Deroy, of course, conservative commentator, conservative columnist, but he was just here and saw firsthand the devastation in Southern California. Unless I missed it, I don't think Donald Trump has been here to do a flyover or anything else as president-elect to assess the damage before he becomes president. He keeps telling us all the stuff he's going to do on day one, the stuff to the point, more expressly, he's going to do in hour one. But unless I missed it, I don't know that he's been here to see or to walk these neighborhoods to see. Certainly he'd have access if he wanted it. But to Deroy's point, I'm wondering if these conservatives like Tommy Tuberville and others would see things differently if they actually saw the devastation up close. I'll ask Deroy what he saw when he was here in L.A. days ago. You're listening to Deroy Murdoch on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. Forward.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now, but I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MOTOR for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MOTOR for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MOTOR.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
More honesty than you can handle.
More empowerment than you can imagine.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and conservative commentator and columnist Deroy Murdoch, my friend and brother. Deroy, I wonder if these rabid conservatives who keep suggesting that California doesn't deserve any money, who are playing politics with this tragedy, might in fact become compassionate conservatives, to use that phrase, if they saw what you saw when you were here. So what did you see?
Well, I used my Fox News ID, press ID, to get behind the fire and police lines on Sunday afternoon. First thing I did was go up to Mescal Canyon Road and visit my alma mater, Palisades High School. As I mentioned, there's a lot more of it standing intact than people might have heard on TV. There are some newer bungalows in the back that burned. I think the buildings that held the shop classes, that thing was destroyed. But the rest of the school is in great shape. It looks like the kids are going to be coming back tomorrow. It doesn't look, no smoke damage, or in remarkably great shape. in the area nearby, you go to the hills just above Pali, and you've got house after house after house that's been burned. You know, just the chimney is standing. You know, the molten metal, all that sort of stuff. There's a big Palisades Presbyterian church, beautiful church that's now just a big steeple with a cross on it. The rest of it's gone. Gelson's Market burned to the ground. There's a Bank of America branch that's gone. J.P. Morgan Chase branch burned. So there's tremendous destruction all over the place. There is more of the Palisades standing than people might think. If you go south of Sunset and kind of, certainly east of Chautauqua, that area, I should say east of Amalfi rather, that part of the Palisades I think is largely untouched. And then certain parts around the Huntington Palisades, that area was in, I thought, surprisingly good shape. I did see one area where Toyopa is a beautiful street with gorgeous houses on either side. That was totally untouched. It looks like everyone just went on vacation. They're going to come back. And in the middle of all that, there's one house that burned to the ground. And whenever that owner comes back and looks around and sees it, he or she has no house, but all the neighbors are there, that person is going to think, was it something I said? Was I an evil person in past life? I mean, you usually hear the opposite, which is everything's destroyed. There's one house standing. This is everything's intact. One house is burning down. So I thought that was really quite an unusual scene. But it's just devastating. That's just Palisades. You've got Altadena. You've got the Hollywood Hills fire, and who knows what else. And thankfully, the winds seem to be calming down, and maybe I know the firefighters finally seem to be getting an upper hand here, thankfully. But boy, it was just completely out of control with 0% containment so much of last week. Terrifying.
As I mentioned, the Eaton Canyon fire now, the Eaton fire at 55% containment as I speak right now. So slowly but surely, they're getting a handle on these things as we are into week 2. I've got 90 seconds left. I want to give 60 seconds to Deroy to answer my exit question, which is what he advises black folk to do on Inauguration Day, which is also the King holiday. I quote from Bernice A. King, Dr. King's youngest child. I certainly understand the desire to tune out rhetoric, ideology, and policies with which we passionately disagree and which contradict the spirit of the beloved community. However, we must pay attention to what President-elect Trump speaks on that day, even if by transcript and video later. We cannot develop a strategic, love-centered strategy for addressing language and legislation if we are not also strategic in listening and leadership. So Bernice says, don't tune it out. 30 seconds left for you, Deroy. How should black folk respond to what's going to happen on Monday?
Yeah, I think people ought to tune in. I mean, you can celebrate Dr. King's birthday on Monday and at the same time see what President Trump says in his inaugural address, what executive orders he signed. There may be pleasant surprises. People might think, I like that idea. So maybe there's some things he'll do people appreciate. And frankly, if he does things they don't like, at least be aware of it. So the worst thing to do in any situation is just tune out. Always tune in. And if you like what you see, great. If you don't, do something about it. But always be aware of your surroundings and, maintain constant situational awareness. Or as Thomas Jefferson said, eternal vigilance is the key to liberty.
Yep. Bernice is right, at least for me. Whether I want to watch it or not, I have to, because I need to be in the know next Tuesday. I digress for now. I'm always grateful to talk to Deroy Murdoch, conservative commentator and columnist. Deroy, thanks for your insights. I have a great year. I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Okay, very good, Tavis. Thanks very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. State Farm will renew policies for homeowners affected by the Los Angeles County wildfires, reversing their previous decision to drop coverage. They have received over 7,400 claims so far, with more expected. The family of Robert Brooks, beaten to death by corrections officers in upstate New York, is suing. Body camera footage shows officers repeatedly punching and kicking him while restrained. 14 officers have been suspended, 1 resigned, and the FBI is investigating. Implement such a rule, potentially saving lives and reducing severe illness. And Jazz Fest in New Orleans will feature headliners, including Lil Wayne, who will perform